सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यम् नमः श्रीशङ्करानन्दगुरुपादाम्बुजन्मने सविलासमहामोहग्रासैककर्मणे तत्पादाम्बुरुहद्वन्द्वस्य निर्मलचेतसां युगबोधाय तत्त्वस्य विवेकोऽयं विधीयते. So, the main problem with all these objectors and the objections is the fact that people do not understand mithya. It's the whole thing is about not understanding mithya. And we saw it in the two continuums that's why this particular objection was taken up of the Vaisheshika Mata. Why? Because everything is Satyam. Everything is real. Dream is real, pot is real, clay is also real, equally real. The sambandha between them, between the pot and clay, the connection that is there, that is also what? As real as the pot and the clay, according to them. Okay, so they don't understand anything else. And on the other side of the continuum, we have certain philosophies, which was they were ancient Buddhist philosophies called Kshanika Vijnana Vada. Nothing is real. And even the whole thing is just, even consciousness is not real. Why? It is also momentary. Kshanika. Kshanika means momentary. And so, you sitting here, listening to Vedanta Shastra from a Swami is possible. Why? Because every split of a second, every nanosecond, picosecond, microsecond, there are so many, even the second is now divided into many, many parts. So every nanosecond, what is happening? A new flicker of consciousness is blessing the buddhi, and then because of this flicker, there is a flicker of understanding. Okay? So, this is an ancient Buddhist philosophy, Kshanika Vijnana Vada. Vijnana means consciousness here. So, nothing is permanent, the whole universe is impermanent, and then how come I'm here? I'm able to understand. That's because there is a series of what? Flickers. Then we have to ask this person, between flicker number 1 and flicker number 2, is there a space? What will they say? Yes, there is a space. Otherwise, how will you distinguish this is, if there is no space, then it will become Vedanta. It will not become Kshanika Vijnana Vada. If consciousness is an unbroken knowing, then there is no interruption in between. It is Nirantara. Here what? They will say, between flicker number 1 and flicker number 2, is there space or not? What will they say? Yes, because that's how we know it's a flicker. Then you ask them the question, okay, then you agree with them, all right, this is your standpoint, all right, so now what happens in that space? What is there in that space? Shunya, zero. That is what they will say. Now you can say, but still, what I wore yesterday, I remember or not? Yes? With all these whites, maybe you don't remember, but nonetheless, some memory is there. What you ate yesterday, some memory is there. What you studied yesterday, no memory is there, but nonetheless, we will pretend it is there. Okay? But there is memory. and forget yesterday. You remember what you were like when you were 10 years old. You remember. You remember what kind of a child you were like when you were 9 or 10 years old. That memory is there. You can show me a photograph of you and say, this is me, when that child doesn't look like you now at all. That child doesn't at all look like you, but then you show the photo and tell me what? You know what? This is me. This is me on my 10th birthday. I was 10 years old. So then we have to ask. So between now, let's say you are 30 years old, and between 10 and 30, in 2 decades, how many flickers will be there? Correct? And then so flicker number 1 to flicker number 10 million, so many flicker. And then one comes, goes away, another comes, goes away, third comes, goes away, 10 millionth one comes and goes away. What constitutes, what is the cause of the memory? Pratyabhigya. Pratyabhigya means memory. How come there is pratyabhigya? How come there is memory? Because if flicker number 1 has come and gone away. That time I was what? 10. Flicker number 2, flicker number 10 million has come and gone away. I should not remember anything at all. Nothing at all I should remember. And then, but I do remember. I have memory. I have understanding. I have impressions. I have samskaras. Forget, even in this life, I remember things from the last life also sometimes. And so then we have to say that, okay, the flickers are coming and blessing the consciousness. What is the entity? Kena ishitam, kena preshitam. This is what we have to ask. And they have no answer for that. They will say it accidentally comes. That is how it is. Flickers of consciousness bless every sentient being. Why is the being sentient? Why are you not like a rock? Why are you sentient? For that also they have no answer. Here also, see, if everything is satyam, then what is on the other side of the continuum? If everything is satyam, then mithya becomes what? Satyam. And then on this side of the continuum, with flickers of consciousness and zero vada. What is zero vada? Shunya vada. So everything is zero. That vada, there is what? There also everything is mithya. You think they are at polar opposites. These two philosophies are at polar opposites. One says everything is real, the other one says everything is unreal. But the effect of both of them are one and the same, even though they are on other ends of the continuum. How? Because if mithya is called satyam, then what? There is the same problem. Everything becomes, everything becomes satyam, mithya becomes satyam. And then on the other hand, if everything is mithya and there is no satyam, there again, mithya becomes what? Satyam. This is what happens. That's why there are contradictions. And so, so therefore, this the whole gamut of objectors, Purva Pakshis, called Purva Pakshis in Vedanta, center around a erroneous understanding, a dushita understanding of mithyatvam. Mithya, that which is a dependent reality, like even our pot and clay. Pot is dependent upon clay, but clay is independent of pot. Ornament is dependent upon gold. Gold is independent of ornament. Gold can be in the form of how people have it, biscuit. Yeah, a biscuit you cannot eat. That is the gold. Gold is in the form of bars. Gold is in the form of biscuits. Gold can be in the form of ornaments. Gold can be in any form. But you recognize it as the satyam of all ornaments. You recognize clay as the satyam, as the reality of all earthenware. This understanding, if it is not there, and so then just to complete the whole vision, so clay is the cause of pots, and then gold is the cause of ornaments, and then what? This Brahman is the cause of the universe. And then to that we have to add something. As though. The causality is superimposed on this consciousness, free of being either cause or effect. No cause, no effect. But cause is there, effect is there, and so therefore for that which is experienced there is always an explanation. So the whole idea is non-separation, and this was pointed out in 52, I think. Yeah, 52 it was pointed out. So all the sambandhas, all the vikalpas, and then the lakshya, lakshana, all this we go through indirect meaning and of the word and how to communicate this knowledge. All this is what? Kalpitaha. Just read the last word of 52 and you will see Kalpitaha. And it is just mithya. Kalpitaha means mithya. Itham vakyaistadharthanusandhanam shravanam bhavet. Itham vakyaistadharthanusandhanam shravanam bhavet. Yuktya sambhavitatvanusandhanam mananantu tat. Yuktya sambhavitatvanusandhanam mananantu tat. Itham vakyaistadharthanusandhanam shravanam bhavet. Yuktya sambhavitatvanusandhanam mananantu yat. Now, verses 53 and 54 and 55 are going to look at how this knowledge is to be gained. How is it to be gained? Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasanaihi. Yagyamalkya and Maitreyi dialogue in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, 4th chapter, discusses this very well. Maitreyi is Yagyamalkya's wife. And he comes to her and says, I wish to take sannyasa. I wish to push off from here. Think about what kind of a marriage it should have been. It should either be a useless marriage, okay? I can't get along with you, therefore what? I'm going to take sannyasa, bye-bye. Or it's a very evolved and elevated marriage where there is safety to say that I have outgrown this marriage. I have outgrown the need of this marriage. Which one is it? The latter. Why is it not the former? Because if it were the former, there would be no dialogue. Tata, finished. But there is a 5-page dialogue there. And with Adi Shankara's very elaborate bhashya is there. So we know, since there is something to talk about, and from the nature of the conversation, we know that what kind of a dialogue is it? It is a very evolved dialogue of two sages talking about philosophy, talking about Brahman. And it is said that Yagyamalkya had 2 wives, Katyayani and Maitreyi. Some people think that is why he wanted to take sannyasa. One marriage is itself difficult to keep up. Imagine being married to 2 people. That is not the reason. Otherwise, Draupadi should have taken sannyasa long before in the Mahabharata. How many spouses did she have? 5, not 2. So, that is not the reason. Because he was, he took his time. It was not an impulsive act. It was a deliberate act. We can see that from the story. He has thought about it. He has planned the future. All this he has done. And so, we don't know what kind of a dialogue was there with Katyayani. We don't know. The Upanishad is silent on that matter, totally silent. Maybe he told her, he asked her, and she said, I never thought you would ask. Bye-bye. Maybe she said that. We don't know, we will never know. But we do know the dialogue between Maitreyi and Yajnavalkya. So, Udhyasyan, he says, I wish to lead a life of solitude. I wish to go away. And you see, the Upanishad is a lady of few words. She'll not go and say, what did Yajnavalkya and Maitreyi have for breakfast? Apupaha, ancient Indian cake. They are not going to say all this. The Upanishad just gives like a skeletal story and moves away. That's why we rely on Bhashya, and here we also rely on the excellent Vartika by Sureshwaracharya, the direct disciple of Adi Shankara. He fills in all the blanks very beautifully. He constructs their love story for us, fills out everything. So beautiful it is, it must be read. And then he says that Yajnavalkya, when he says, I'd like to go, and in fact, I have divided the property between you and Maitreyi, you will be a very rich lady. You will not want anything. In fact, you will not even miss me, because whatever you want, you can have. Everything is already given to you. She has a very important question for him. What is the question? Okay, the wealth that you are going to leave for me, is that going to give me that which you are pursuing by leaving me? And being an honest person, he says no. Yatha upakaranavattam jivitam syat tatha te tava. Upakaranavattam means the ones who are well endowed with all kinds of money and whatever it is, chariots, money, all the ancient signs of wealth, they were all what? Comfortable. You will also be what? Comfortable. Money cannot give you moksha. Money cannot also deny you moksha. Money and freedom are what? Have nothing to do with one another. What is the reason for moksha? Adhikaritvam. It's not money or the lack thereof. So, this you have to completely understand. If you don't understand this, you won't understand anything. And here, Vartikakara, Sureshwaracharya jumps in and says a few things. He says, okay, I am what? Your Ardhangini. I am your better half. Correct? And then this knowledge which you want to assimilate even more fully by being in the forest, that cannot be halved. Why? It is Purna. It cannot be halved. So therefore, even though I am entitled to half of everything, like this wealth that you are leaving me, I am entitled to the entire knowledge. So the permission for sannyasa, stay order. You cannot go until you teach me fully that which you are going to lead this life. And so the conversation starts. This is the conversation starter, and then the Vartikakara has a few more verses there, and he says where Yajnavalkya feels very sorry. He says, you know, I thought you were the coffee machine. You just brought me coffee, and I thought you were you were the one who kept all my books properly. I thought you just kept everything nicely for me. Never did I once think that you would be an adhikari for this knowledge, and never did I once think that you would want this knowledge. He says, it's my bad. It is my problem that I looked at you only as a wife and not as somebody who is ready for this knowledge. Then asking her forgiveness, then the dialogue begins back to the Upanishad, And then Yajnavalkya says that Atma vai are means beloved one, my beloved. Atma vai are drishtavyaha. Drishtavyaha means Atma must be seen. Can you see the Atma? No. But then many times the word see is used for understand. Like sometimes people will explain things and say, do you see? Do you see this? It's not actually seeing. See means no. Atma va are drashtavyaha. Darshanartham kim kartavyam. What should I do for this darshan of Atma, for this knowledge? What should I do? Shrotavyo mantavyo nididhyasitavyaha. A formula is given. Shrotavya, see, and all the words end in one expression. What is that? Tavya, 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 tavya. Tavya means you must, it must be. Atma must be heard from a qualified teacher who can unfold the Atma. It must be heard. Shravanam kartavyaha atmartham. So Shravanam has to be done. Has to be done means what? It is compulsory. So where is it said that Shravanam must be done? In the Veda. And what do I have to study in order to do this? The Veda. So if it's already written in the Veda and I am not studying the Veda, what will happen? How will I know that I have to do Shravanam? I will not know. That's why there is something called Vriddha Vyavahara. You see the elders participating, you see the elders doing all this, and that's how, what do you know? I also have to do this. You do see the elders doing what? Shravanam. So, Shrotavyaha. This Shravanam means listening to the unfoldment of the truth of the self, listening to the vision of the self, after, if not overcoming, at least suspending previous notions about the self, about the non-self, about Jiva, Ishvara, Jagat. Everybody has notions. About Jiva, Ishvara, Jagat, everybody has notions. And so, suspending them, I am able to listen with an open mind. This listening alone causes the ajnanam to leave. This listening is a exit, what is that called? Eviction notice for ajnanam. This listening alone does ajnana nivrittihi nirasanam, removes ajnanam. And so therefore Shravanam is the mukhya karanam for moksha. Shravanam, Shravanam, Shravanam. Nothing else. Because by this time we have already seen through this and Ishavasya Upanishad and other texts, what have we seen? We have seen that the problem is what? In wrong thinking. Wrong knowledge is the problem, and so wrong knowledge cannot be dismissed by action. So action and knowledge are like oil and water, they cannot mix. Even in a salad dressing, it's a very unhappy mixture. That's why you have to keep shaking it. Oil will be on top, water will be in the bottom. That's how it will be. They will not mix. So, therefore, karma, what does it give? Finite phala. And what do I want? The knowledge of the infinite as myself. Therefore, karma is not an option. Knowledge is the option. And how to listen, how to imbibe this knowledge? By listening. Listening is the necessary and sufficient condition for the knowledge, the vision of oneself as free, whole and limitless. Nothing more you need. Then why Mananam is written? Why Nididhyasanam is written? Mananam and Nididhyasanam are talked about to free the knowledge of doubts. If not that everybody will have doubts. Some people may not have doubts. Then Mananam is not required. And so But most people will have doubts, and therefore mananam is required. What is mananam? Deliberating the knowledge. Sitting with the knowledge and deliberating the knowledge and doing what is called manthanam. Churning. You churn the milk and then what comes out? Yeah. Who said ghee? See me after class, okay? Yeah. Some basic things we have to explain. All right, yeah. So mananam is the churning, correct? Which bears the fruit of a doubt-free knowledge. And then of course, then also the knowledge is complete. Nididhyasanam may not be required. Nididhyasanam is required if somebody complains, I know I am Brahman, but I don't behave like Brahman. I get jealous, I get angry, I feel like hitting a few people for lunch. And so therefore what? Something needs to be done. But I have a clear knowledge, I already know everything I know. But somehow I am not able to behave in congruence with what I know. There is a certain gap between what? My knowledge and my conduct. So if that is the case, if habitual orientations power the mind and I feel disempowered because the knowledge is there but it is not able to show itself. It is of no use. And so therefore Nididhyasanam means repeatedly absorbing the knowledge by recalling the words of the Upanishads whose meaning I know. So I should have studied the Upanishads. So Nididhyasanam is done post-study, not pre-study. Pre-study, nothing will happen. Yeah, pre-study, what is needed? Shravanam. That is the mukhya sadhanam. If there are doubts, then mananam is called for. And if there are habitual orientations that eclipse what I know and don't let me fully reap the benefits of this knowledge in the form of nirantara ananda, niratishaya ananda, an ananda that is not eclipsed by this object-subject division. So if I am not able to enjoy that, then nididhyasana is enjoined. Now, so for Uttama Adhikari, what is required? Shravanam. And for Adhama Adhikari, what is required? None of them, because nothing is going to work. And then, Karma Yoga, Upasana, you make them do. And then for the Madhyama Adhikari, what is required? All three are required, especially in Kali Yuga. In fact, the thing is, they say in Kali Yuga, please don't teach Vedanta. The teachers are told, please don't teach Vedanta. Thankfully, it's not an Upanishad ordering us. That's why we continue to teach. Kalau kalmasha chittanam papadravya upajivinam vidhi kriya vihinanam harer namaiva kevalam. So Kalau means in Kali Yuga, Kalau. So the word Kali means conflict. Kalmasha chittanam. So everybody's chitta, everybody's heart is what? Full of kalmasha. Kalmasha means ragadvesha. All kinds of terrible ragadveshas, difficult to control, difficult to manage, ragadveshas. Kalmasha chittanam. Papadravya upajivina. Papadravyopajeevina means those who make a living not according to the Vedas. Those who make a living, the very living is based on wrongdoing and exploitation. You work, let's say, you start one garment industry, and that itself is full of exploitation. All the things have to be outsourced somewhere, and then in some assembly line factory, all the men and women are working from day to night, while you don't even know the squalor and the working conditions, how oppressive they are, and then what? So that everybody who is promenading on the catwalk, right? It's called, on that where the models model the yearly designs, they will just walk like this and then go back. And then how much has gone in that garment, and to mass produce that garment for this thing, how much is needed? So much blood, sweat and tears, unreimbursed blood, sweat and tears, one does not know. One does not know. And so therefore what? So that this is, so if I am making a living off of these beings, then that means what? Papadravya. It is papadravya. And then what? And then there is the military industrial complex, and then every country is making weapons. And then what am I doing? I'm working in the weapon factory. I'm inspecting the weapons. Then what are these weapons going to be used for? Killing. This is not for love bombing. It is for killing. Yeah. This is not for just, if I'm sending a friendly missive. No, this is an unfriendly missile. Yes, terrible it is. Papadravya upajivi I am. So then, what else? So many other things like this. Anything that any industry that you work in will be doing some wrong things. Some wrong things will be there. Even if you work in a simple shop, some wrong things are happening. Why? This is Kali Yuga, that's why. Everything is vitiated. There is nothing pure anymore. And so, papadravyopajivinam vidhi and kriya vihinanam. Meaning they don't know the mandates of the Veda, and they don't know how to do this also. They don't know what to do, they don't know how to do. And even if they knew, what would they do? They would not do. They would not do, because nobody is following the Vaidika lifestyle. What is the Brahmana supposed to do? The Brahmana is supposed to not get into an occupation that has a salary. This is Varjita. The Brahmana is supposed to do the Vedic rites and all the priestly functions, whatever it is, and then not ask. There is no set thing. Okay, I have done one homa, give me $500. No. Whatever is given is taken, and with that the life has to be done. Where are all the Brahmanas now? From India, they are in the United States. Yeah, that's what has happened. So then, and then like this, if you go to, and then the ashrama dharma is also not kept. What is ashrama dharma? Study means you should only study. But most youngsters are not only studying. What are they doing? They are doing the brahmacharya ashrama and grihastha at the same time. Yeah, they are living in with somebody or the other. All over the globe it is happening. Yeah. This was a big no-no in the olden days. You could not do 2 ashramas at once. But here, see, things are there. And then what about vanaprastha? When the forests are itself not there, where will you find the forest dweller? Deforestation and deforested dweller also. Nobody leaves. No, the whole idea of leaving the house to your daughters and sons and moving out to the forest, so healthy, really emotional health. That is why the Vaidikas were so emotionally okay. That's why in the ancient Vedic times there were no therapists. There were no need for therapists. Because you grow out of something gracefully. And since it's an injunction, it's a mandate, you leave it and you go. Now what? You just keep on interfering. Your whole purpose is gone. And then, and then when the son and the daughter-in-law or the daughter and the son-in-law are managing, you sit there and find fault. Oh, I never kept the sugar here. Now this lady is keeping the sugar here. And then now I'm not, that's why I put salt in my tea by mistake. And like this, so much kalmasha. This is all kalmasha. And the father will interfere in how the son-in-law is running the business also. Son-in-law and daughter, they never listen to me. They do whatever they want. And I built it with my blood and sweat for 50 years, and now they are going to do complete ruin. They are going to run it to the ground in 2 years. This is my prediction. None of that prediction comes true. It's all in this fellow's head. But this is how it is. So nobody is doing what they are supposed to do, and everybody is doing what they are not supposed to do. Varna dharma not followed, ashrama dharma not followed. Then Agnihotra, how do you spell that? What is that? Not followed. Daily karmas not followed, occasional karmas not followed. Kamya karma followed. Yes, see, I am a Vaidika. And then what? Pratisiddha karma followed. I do everything that I am not supposed to do. Yeah, atonement, why? Why should God, if God requires an apology, then it's not God. This is how people get very clever and start saying things. So here, nothing is followed, and then it says, please don't teach Vedanta. So, vidhi kriya vihinanam harer namaiva kevalam. Just sit them down. Make them to sit down and say Hari, 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 Hari. And why is Hari called? Please hurry up and give me adhikaritvam. That is all to say. Nothing more to say here. And so, therefore, there is actually a Dharma Shastra that says don't teach Vedanta in Kali Yuga. But since it does not have Shruti backing, we can teach. So this Shravana Manana Nididhyasana becomes the foundational steps of what? Of gaining this knowledge. Okay? This is the foundational steps of gaining this knowledge. And then what should we do here? Start with what? What will we start with? Nididhyasana? Shravana. Shravana, and this verse will talk about this Shravana. So, itham vakyaihi. Itham means in this manner. Itham, in this manner, vakyaihi, through the sentences. What kind of sentences? Mahavakyaihi. Through the understanding of the Mahavakyas, we did 2 Mahavakyas here. What were they? Anantam Brahma and Tattvamasi. Itham, in this manner, through the Mahavakyas, then Artha Anusandhanam. Artha Anusandhanam means the reconciliation of the meaning, the assimilation / reconciliation of the meanings is called Shravanam. Shravanam bhavet. Anusandhanam, finding the proper connections. Shravanam bhavet. So, this itself will take the rest of the class, so don't worry about the second line. Okay? So what is what is Shravanam? The definition of Shravanam is given. The assimilation of the Mahavakya without external or internal contradictions. After resolving and reconciling real or perceived contradictions. Okay? This is called what? Shravanam. Shravanam is listening. But then when you listen, sometimes you listen to 2 different things. One Upanishad says one thing, another Upanishad says another thing. What are some examples? We will see in the Kena Upanishad. Yan manasa na manute, yena ahur mano matam. Tadeva brahmatvam vidhi nedam yadidam upasate. Yat manasa na manute, that which is not understood by the mind. This is what? One Upanishad. Then you walk over to the Taittiriya Upanishad, the same thing is said. Yato vacho nivartante apraapya manasa saha. Yataha yasmat karanat, from which causeless cause the mind and the vak. What is vak? Yes. mind and the vak, speech, beat a retreat, not having found their target as an object. What is the target? Brahman. They go to catch hold of Brahman, instead they find that they exist because of Brahman, so they come back. They beat a retreat without being able to understand this. So these two statements, Yat Manasana Manute from the Kenopanishad and this Vakya from the Upanishad? Taittiriya Upanishad, are in agreement. And what does it say? The mind is not an agent of this knowledge. This knowledge, the mind has no role in this knowledge. And because the mind tried to understand Brahman and came back. How? Without understanding Brahman. It came back. And so therefore, this knowledge cannot be known through the mind. Okay? 2 Upanishads, I am a graduate of 2 Upanishads. I am very happy. Yes, they are in agreement. 3rd Upanishad I study, again through Shravanam. And then there it says, Manasa eva idam anudrashtavyam. This must be only seen Manasa. Which case is Manasa? 3rd case. And this is not passive voice. This is Karane, Tritiya, the Tritiya in the form of the instrument. So in the first 2 sentences, the mind had 0 role. In the happening of this knowledge, in the assimilation of the knowledge, there was no role at all for the mind in the first 2 instances. In this one, what is there? The mind alone has to know. Through the mind alone, the mind is an instrument, like the fork and the spoon. The spoon is an instrument that brings the food to the mouth. The mind is an instrument that brings Brahman to you, like the spoon. Now what are you going to do? Contradiction. Big bells go off. But the Shravanam is Sashraddha. Along with Shraddha, it is done. The Shravanam has to be done along with the respect for the knowledge, a reverence for the knowledge, in fact, a devotion for the knowledge. So the devotional Shravanam, through the devotional Shravanam, I will see. What will I see? That it is just an as though contradiction. There is not a real contradiction. The contradiction is only on the level of words, not at the level of meaning. How will I know? The teachers themselves should explain when all these things are there. So this kind of a reconciliation happens in the classroom, but has to be assimilated by me. So how to reconcile these sentences? The first 2 sentences, where the mind has no role in the production of this knowledge, underscores an important fact, that this knowledge is not produced. Why? The mind itself is a product. And so how can that which is a product produce that which is not a product? Which came first, Brahman or the mind? Brahman came first. And so therefore the mind has no role, because that which is an effect cannot really explain the cause. Why? Because there is a purva and apara difference. Purva, para difference. So if the cause came first and the effect came later, the effect has come from where? Out of the cause. So therefore it cannot really explain the cause. And so the mind itself being a product of Brahman, and Brahman being not subject to production, not a product, Brahman being akritam. Akritam means what? Uncreated. And so the created mind cannot even have a say over trying to explain uncreated Brahman. There is a contradiction, a vyaghata. The second reason why the mind has no role according to these 2 Upanishads is because the mind is itself the mind can only objectify things that are available to the means of knowledge that it has in its grasp. What are those means of knowledges? Pratyaksha, sense organs. Anumana, arthapattau. What are arthapatti, anumana? What are they? Yeah, arthapatti and anumana. In multiple step inference, arthapatti, and anumana is what? Single step inference. So these two together are come under the rubric of inference. So the inference is the other, other means of knowledge, multiple inference, one step inference, doesn't matter. Then we have the upama. Upama means the means of knowing through similarity. Something is like something, but there is a difference. This person looks exactly like that person, but this person has a mustache and the other person doesn't have a mustache. It is said everybody has what is called a doppelganger. Doppelganger means somebody who looks just like you. Somewhere in the universe they will be there. Skin color may be different and the way of wearing clothes may be different, but there is somebody who looks like you. Oh, okay. So then let's say you found that doppelganger, that also happens, and then what happens? And then you see that there are a lot of similarities, but then there is a difference. So how do you, and then if supposing somebody says, oh, I heard there is somebody who looks like you, how will I recognize the person? Oh, that person doesn't have a mustache. So you see, you have deployed the means of knowledge called upama. Upama, you have deployed the means of knowledge. Then what? The cognizance of absence. Cognition or cognizance of absence. Is there a flower in the palm of my hand? No. Why? Don't say because I don't see it. It's not seeing, because then it will become pratyaksha pramana. You can't see absence, okay? You can only see what? That which is presence. But what is it that for the anupalabdhi, the cognition of absence to happen, it should be local and relative. Meaning it should answer two questions. What is absent and where it is absent from? So is there a flower in the universe? I am not asking, because that will, you can never say, yes, there is no flower in the universe. You can't say that. Is there a flower? What is absent? Is the flower the absent? Where? Where is it absent? The locus of absence is in the palm of my hand. That's how it works. That's why anupalabdhi does not work for Atma, because the one who is asking the question is who? Atma. So then, these are the means of knowledge available for who? The mind. The mind cannot intuit Brahman, the mind cannot infer Brahman, because we are talking of the nature of the inferer. The mind cannot see or hear Brahman, because we are now talking of the nature of the seer and the nature of the hearer. And besides, furthermore, the Brahman does not make a noise to be heard. So then, after that, then we can say, for this reason, Brahman is not an object for the mind to grasp. The mind can only grasp the objects and not the subject. So therefore, yat manasa na manute, and then yato vacho nivartante, these sentences are easily done. But then what about the other sentence? Manasa eva idam anudrashtavyam. This should be seen only by the mind. We are not really in problem. Why are we not in problem? Because here what is being talked about is this, that which the Brahma Jnanam or Brahma Vidya is that knowledge which happens in the mind. Because where does knowledge happen? In the mind. Whether it's knowledge of of clay pot or knowledge of Brahman, where should it happen? Both happen in the mind. Both of them happen in the mind. Knowledge of Brahman also happens in the mind. Knowledge of objects also happens where? In the same mind. So then, the mind is the locus of this knowledge, the place where the knowledge happens, but the mind is not the agent of this knowledge. So, Manasa should be converted to what? Seventh case. Manasi. Happens in the mind, the knowledge that happens in the mind, but not by the mind. The mind has no role. You see, there is really no contradiction. No, but how do you say this is how it should be read? You are just sitting here and making it up. I am not actually, because that is why the Brahma Sutras come into the picture. That is where the Brahma Sutras come into the picture, because this is a 1,000-year or thousands of years old tradition. Anything that you think you have discovered, you have not discovered. It has all not only been thought of, it has been, made threadbare by analysis. Purva Paksha, Siddhanta, everything. Not only one generation of analysis, generation after generation after generation of analysis. All you can do is repeat the words of the Guru and be a poppet. What is poppet? Yeah, you can just be a parrot. That's all you can be. You just parrot the words of the tradition. That's all you do. And so therefore, this is the Brahma Sutras, 555 sutras talk about these reconciling these so-called contradictions. And if you look at the Brahma Sutra tradition itself, there are at least 10 generations of commentaries, each one building up on the other. This is something amazing. This is something really fascinating. And then of course we have Adi Shankara and other writers as well who talk about the Upanishads and whose main job is to explain how the tradition explained this. So we have an idea. This is not something just born out of the head, where suddenly the skull has started to think. The skull must not think. What is inside the skull must think. Okay? This also I did not think of. This is an expression, kapala kalpitam or kapola kalpitam, skull thinking. Yeah. What should think? The brain cells inside the skull should think. So, here, Manasa eva idam anudrashtavyam is talking about the need to purify the mind and make it in keeping with the knowledge, so that make it ready for the knowledge, so that it will see. How will it see? It will see not in the same way as the objects are seen. The knowledge of objects and the knowledge of the subject happens in the same place. Alas, but true. Do you have two minds? One mind for Brahma Vidya, another mind for worldly object knowledge? No. Only one mind is there. Mind means buddhi also here. There also, buddhi. Mind, buddhi, one and the same here. One buddhi is there to understand this Jagataha Upalabdhi Sthanam. Jagataha Upalabdhi Sthanam. Upalabdhi means where the Jagat obtains. Where the Jagat obtains, the Jagataha Upalabdhi Sthanam, where the Jagat obtains. Where is the Jagat? Right here is the Jagat. Right here is the Jagat. The Jagat is not anywhere other than here, because it has to come through here only. So, Jagataha Upalabdhi Sthanam and Jagataha Adhishthanasya Upalabdhi Sthanam Ekameva. This is both fascinating and a huge problem for us. So, Jagataha Upalabdhi Sthanam means what? The place where the Jagat is cognized is the same exact place where what is cognized? The truth of the Jagat is cognized, namely myself, Brahman. The truth of the Jagat is also cognized in the same place, and the Jagat is also cognized in that same locus, which is what? Manaha Buddhihi. This is the problem. Why? Because the way in which the Jagat is recognized is not the way in which Brahman is recognized. Same locus, different ways of cognizing. How is the Jagat recognized? Directly. I see. Since the lotus is here, we should use it. Okay? Yeah. I see. What do I see? Lotus I see. I see the lotus direct. I don't need anything else. The lotus is here, eyes are open, sight takes place. Pramana is there, prameya is there, and then what else? Pramata, I, who is now what? First I was the seer of the lotus, then I became what? Knower of the lotus. I know lotus, I can say easily. Same thing with pot and any other thing, hat, cat, mat, rat, everything is what? I see, I know, like this. But then, same way, I see lotus, can I say I see Brahman? No. Why? I am Brahman. So therefore, in the cognition of objects, there is a twofold, two-step operation. Twofold operation or a two-step operation. The first step is what we talked about yesterday. This jnanam, this consciousness, this awareness, how many awarenesses are there? One. Abba, thank God, yeah. So, this one awareness goes through the various aperture. Goes through, do you see flaming knowledge coming out of? No, it's just as though. As though goes through the eyes and wraps itself. The eyes don't go out. I don't think, like in the comics, the eyes pop out. They see chocolate cake and eyes pop out. No. Eyes don't pop out. What pops out? Shrotrasya shrotram, chakshushas chakshuhu. That which makes the eyes, that which makes the ears, that animating consciousness which brings the eyes to life and then thereby brings that which is objectified by the eyes also to life, to light. So there, what happens? The eyes see and the jnanam, the consciousness, as though, because it is all pervasive, as though reaches out, wraps itself around the objects and then brings back information to the mind. Lotus, don't think of something big. This is small lotus, okay? Yeah, small lotus. And so when you say lotus, immediately lotus vritti has taken place. The lotus vritti floods the mind. Lotus vritti means what? Lotus thought. The mental modification that happened as soon as, forget seeing the lotus. As soon as I said the word lotus, because nobody could see the lotus, it was behind the clock. Yeah. So, as soon as I said lotus vritti flooded the entire mind. Correct? That is operation number 1. What is its name? Vritti vyaptihi. Vritti vyapti. And then I am ready to show and tell. Then I am showing the lotus. And then what takes place now? Aha, this is the lotus. Now I know this lotus. Now I have grasped this lotus as an object. That is the second operation in the cognition of objects, and the technical name for that is phala vyapti. Vyapti means it's just, don't worry about vyapti, it's just an operation. Vritti vyapti, where the vritti floods the mind. Phala vyapti, I know this pot, I know this lotus. This is a two-part operation for the objects. Same mind will be doing the two-part operation. Now, let us replace lotus with what? Consciousness, Brahman. So when I say the word consciousness, and that's why I keep doing that meditation, what happens? So this we have done in the meditation, and those who are looking blank did not attend the meditations. So in the meditations we will do a little exercise. Even now we can do it. We can all close the eyes and I'll just say the objects. You see visualize the object. And so apple, orange, banana, grape, consciousness. Table, chair, computer, light, consciousness. Hat, coat, umbrella, consciousness. Now you can open the eyes. All these objects are there, correct? You can see the objects, you can visualize them. When I say consciousness, what do you see? Nothing. But do you understand the meaning or not? Yes, that's the thing. Meaning is there. And what is the meaning? You, which cannot have an object. So the mind has to recognize this. So therefore, when I say consciousness, when I say Brahman, is there vritti vyapti or not? Yes, because the meaning is understood. Brahman, consciousness, awareness, when I say forget Brahman, let us just talk in English. Consciousness I say, awareness I say, yes. Why? Because it is self-shining, it is here, it is you. That's therefore it is immediate recognition happens. Recognition happens almost immediately. No time gap, no this thing, because it is you. Now you want to see where is this Brahman, whether the Brahman I visualized is the same as the Brahman which is talked about as Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam. Do you need to do that? Not at all. There is no ratification of this knowledge because it is you. There is no need to confirm this knowledge. There is no need to certify this knowledge. Who is doing the certification? You. Who is the so-called object of this knowledge? You. Who is the knower? You. This is abheda, there is no difference at all. So therefore, in the knowledge of Brahma, in Brahma Jnanam, there is no phala vyapti needed. There is no phala vyapti possible. The second operation of knowing this, matching what occurred in the mind along with what is the reality is not necessary. Is not necessary, it's not possible. Not only is it not possible, it is not necessary because of the self-shining self. Self-evident I is very much there. And because of the two different ways in which the mind is used, namely twofold operation for the objects and a single operation for the subject, that is why there is confusion about what is the role of the mind in gaining this knowledge. So when we say this is not available for the mind, we are talking of it from the standpoint of not being an object. When we say this has to be understood only through the mind, what do we mean is that this vritti vyapti and this, the knowledge happens in this locus which is called the mind, but the mind is not the agent of this knowledge. No, this is a knowledge without a knower. That's why you cannot put a board. Sometimes, people go to parties and they have a sticker here. Hello, my name is so and so, So you cannot say here, put a sticker, hello, I have Brahma Jnanam. Yeah, that means what? You don't have. That is the idea. So you have Brahma Jnanam, you absolutely cannot say. Why? It's a knowledge without a knower. It's a knowledge that knocks off the pramata. There is no more pramata of Brahma Jnanam. Every other pramatritvam, no worship, knowerhood, is as though. That's all it is. It's of objects, not of the subject. Okay? Yeah. We'll stop here so that nobody has a concussion after this. All right. Yeah. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om.